Hello, my name is Vivek, and I have a question. How would you see the penetration of RICS in the USA markets? How do we see the penetration of RICS in the USA markets?
In the US market, you are saying. Can you state your name and the program so that we all get a sense of who you are?
I'm Vivek. I'm doing MBA in Construction Economics and Quantity Survey, first semester.
Thank you. That's a very good question. The RICS 15 years ago was very much a UK-based organisation with one office in Brussels. And today we have offices in 27 cities around the world, including Washington DC in the United States and also in New York. Now, the RICS in the USA has many other competitive organisations that occupy specific areas that the RICS also operates in. So there's the Appraisal Institute, for example, the Appraisal Foundation, and the other complication as far as the US is concerned is it's very much a federal organisation, so each state operates in a different way. But today we're in discussion with quite a lot of those organisations. They've turned from being competitors to being collaborators. We're working very closely with them. And the reason for that is around international standards. The RICS has been one of the leading lights in a consortium focused on international property measurement standards. Property measurement standards currently are not globally standardised. If you were to measure this building here, and then measure it in the UK, and measure it in the United States, you get 3 different answers because you've been using the local standards that those countries tend to apply. The difference between measuring this perhaps in the US and measuring it in the UK might be 24% difference in terms of the floor space that you get. And therefore, how do you value a property like this when you don't actually know what the underlying measurement that sits underneath it is? So by working very closely with a whole range of different organisations around the world, including the Building Occupiers and Managers Association in the US, one of the largest bodies in the US for the management of commercial properties, we're starting to form much closer bonds with those organisations than we have done before, which I think means that the presence of the RICS in the United States is going to grow dramatically over the next couple of years as we get more and more involved in international standards and working with some of those American bodies.
Thank you. Just because you spoke about the measurement of the buildings, I would just want to ask one question. How would you see the career of quantity surveyors across the world, the careers of the quantity surveyors?
Sorry, how do we see
the careers of quantity surveyors? Yeah, QS.
Yeah, I think the opportunities for quantity surveyors around the world is very great. Membership of the RICS is very much an international passport. It's recognised around the world. It's recognised by governments in a number of different places. And therefore, good quantity surveyors that understand how to produce good cost measurements, how to do construction project management, some of these core skills that are needed are applicable in the US, UK, and indeed we're doing a lot of work in Brazil at the moment, for example, where there's also a need for good QS skills in that particular area too. So I think membership of the RICS as a QS is definitely an opportunity to be able to travel and to work in different organisations around the world, if that's something that you're particularly interested in.
I think just to add to that, the fact remains that during the construction phase of a development, as when it's completed, there's always a need for measurement for various reasons, whether it's to keep the banks happy, to keep the developer happy, for third parties to keep track, and for that reason, the role of the QS is as important as it ever has been.
Thank you.
I had one question that was actually asked by students over email, and it relates to RICS resources. There are a couple of guidance notes that have been recently released by RICS. One is on stakeholder engagement, and we teach a subject here on stakeholder management. And there's a guidance note released on BIM. But as student members, I think the official policy is that student members cannot download those guidance notes. Is there some mechanism by which we can provide perhaps a hard copy access to students of these guidance notes? Because I feel they'll be very useful. They've tried to log in, and when they try to download, it says you don't have access. I think it's only for members, not student members. Anything we can do to solve that issue?
It's a good point, actually. One of the benefits of being a member of the RICS is that you have access free of charge to all of the RICS guidance, all of the RICS standards, and a range of other information that's provided on the RICS website. As student members, that access is not available, but I think if there is anything specific, Anil, that is needed for the purposes of delivering some of your programs, then we would have to look into that and see whether we can make those guidance notes available. But generally speaking, because student membership is available free of charge to anybody anywhere that wants to have access to it, we do have some differentiation between student membership and obviously full chartered membership, and the full chartered members do have access as part of their membership to all the standards and guidance that we produce. As students, we would expect that your universities would be providing you access and having that information at their fingertips to be able to deliver to you. So I think it's a discussion for you and I to have our...
Sure. So two questions, one right there and one I think at the back. So we'll probably be just able to get two questions.
Very good morning, sir. So myself, Akanksha Rastogi, I am an MBA RUI student first year. So my question is, in UK we have RICS and BIFM working towards the field of facilities management. They have established the field really well and it is at a very good global standard. Now, how soon do you think that RICS will be able to tap into the market of FM in India and bring it at par with UK?
Very good question.
See, in terms of the FM profession at this point of time in India, I think it's still fairly at a nascent stage. So I mean, between the global consulting firms, the JLL, CBREs, they would be at this point of time managing about 500 million square feet of space across India. Now, if you look at it in the total, in the context of the total quantum of infrastructure that's being built in India, it's a fairly minuscule portion, and which just tells you that the opportunity for FM to grow from 500 million square feet to a couple of billion square feet, or even 100 billion square feet over the next 10 years, 20 years is very good. It does tell you that it offers a very good opportunity for professionals to get into facilities management. But to answer your question, to kind of get it to global standards, we need qualified, good skilled people. We need specialized education in facilities management. One of our initiatives, endeavors will be to actually have specialized programs. We do already have specialized programs for working professionals for facilities management in the distance learning mode. But there is a lot of upskilling that is required of existing manpower to ensure that they reach global standards. So I think till the talent pool develops, I don't think we'll be able to do justice to the kind of opportunity that FM provides. And at this point of time, we're looking at that base of talent that is currently servicing 500 million square feet of space or assets under management. But eventually, with all the infrastructure that's being developed, organizations like RICS will obviously play a key role in ensuring that there is enough skilled manpower and talent available to make sure that there is more professionalism and standards that come in the FM industry. But I think it will take a while for us to reach global standards. But I think I assume the next 10 years presents a very good opportunity. The next 20 years presents a very good opportunity for people looking at FM as a career.
Thank you, sir.
I'd just like to follow up on what Sachin said there. I mean, even in the UK, facilities management is a relatively young profession. There's no degrees in the UK to go and study facilities management. People come into facilities management from all sorts of different directions, some from a business perspective, some from a commercial property perspective, and some have worked their way up from just having kind of got involved in the really early days of it might even be in contract management and gradually taking more and more responsibilities on board. And it's really only been in the last 5 or 6 years, I think, that the RICS has recognised that there is a community of professionals out there working in that facilities management space and sort of opened our arms towards them to bring them into the organisation as a whole. But Sachin's right. To have those people be able to come forward and ultimately take membership with the RICS, we've had to think very hard about what are the pathways that are relevant for those people. What are the skills that those people have professionals in facilities management need to understand. And to help them to be able to come forward, we've put in place specific programs to enable them to upskill and develop the sort of competencies that we, the RICS, would expect a professional facilities management to have. So I wouldn't want anyone to think that India is a long way behind with regards to the facilities management profession, because it's really only a very, very young profession, and around the world as a whole, facilities managers as professionals is something which is relatively new. So there's a big opportunity actually for all of you to kind of step up, or for those working in this space in India to really take a leading role in the facilities management space.
There's a bit of chicken and egg involved as well. As the profession is maturing, or it's in the early stages of maturity, unless there's a big skill base out there, people can't move from the traditional model, which is a developer or owner would do everything in-house. So as that trend moves forward and people start outsourcing, then you need the profession to develop. But equally, no one will go down that route unless there is a body of people there who are able to professionally deliver the services. So it's not something you can sort of front load, it's something that has to happen as part of a push and pull.
Piyush, can you add a couple of words on Australia?
No, the only thing which I would like to add from the education point of view, that the facility management as a profession has very much developed in the education sphere only recently. So I see my colleagues doing research, which is not older than maybe 5, 7, 8 years. That's it. And in education also, facility management has come about maybe around the same time. So as a field that's evolving, the good news here is that we have embedded facility management in our curriculum very clearly. It's rightly up there. So you guys are a step ahead in terms of many other programs around the world. So I think that's where we are.
All companies currently doing FM, JLL, CBRE, TZ, Colliers, everybody's expanding so rapidly, 10 on. I mean, all of them have thousands of employees working. They find it hard to find talent, people who are reasonably skilled to manage different sites. And I think the opportunity is massive. So these companies themselves will grow very significantly. And that presents a fantastic opportunity. And along with that, organizations like RICS will contribute to creating more skilled talent, which will then work with these organizations and bring in more standards that will overall help us manage our assets better.
There's another question at the back. Bismillah, please go ahead.
My name is Bismillah Arif. I'm doing MBA Construction Project Management first semester. I would like to ask, initially I would like to thank all the organizers of the program who have organized this program. This is really a good experience for us to know. The question will be related to the guests. How do you see RICS Amity as compared to the UK, which is the institute? What do you feel like? Is there any kind of improvement that RICS Amity should have? And since I'm doing construction project management, I would like to know your say that what are the challenges for the construction project manager and now or in the future, so that we know in advance what will happen. And also if you could tell us about the opportunities in the construction project management field in the globally, in Asia or Europe, since like it seems like the Europe and US is like at the saturation level, but the Asian countries they need to reform the informal settlements a lot. So maybe you could answer these questions. Thank you so much.
So 3 questions. One, how does RICS SBE compare with institutions in UK? Second, what are the challenges in front of construction project managers? And what are the opportunities available globally for CPM graduates? Bismillah is an international student from Afghanistan, so he's very keen to know the global opportunities available.
absolutely. Well, let me have a go at the questions in order, and then I'm sure we'll help with the construction project management question that hasn't worked in that space in many countries around the world. How does the Amity-RICS relationship and setup compare with UK organisations? Well, there are many accredited universities and courses that run in the UK across the whole range of the different topics of becoming a chartered surveyor, everything from rural practice through to arts and antiquities. The diversity of the membership of the RICS is very broad. Here in India, obviously, we focused on the courses that we focused on, the 5 that we've started off with. And the relationship between the RICS and Amity University is very, very strong. But it is independently audited. We have an independent team that comes from the RICS. It's separate from arm's length from myself and from Will, and comes and assesses the activities that are going on here. It first visited earlier in the year. In fact, the team were out here again last week doing a follow-up to that. The assessment from that independent team is that the programmes and the delivery of the degree and postgraduate courses is very, very good indeed. In fact, the team were surprised at how well the courses had developed, how well the students had engaged, how well the faculty were taking on the teaching load compared to other organisations and other universities that they would normally visit, which I think we can really take as a big tick in the box, a real gold star for the work that the faculty have done here, the support that we've had from our colleagues and friends in Amity, and indeed from everybody in the room for all the commitment that you've all given to the development of this facility. So I'd like to first ask you to give yourselves a round of applause. The second question was around the challenge for construction project management. I mean, I have some views on opportunities, but Will, perhaps you'd like to talk about the challenge before we come back to opportunities.
Yeah, I guess my answer to this question would be it depends where you're asking the question. The challenges in India are very different to those that might be faced elsewhere in the world. But there are two or three that I would highlight myself. The first is developers are forever looking at what they perceive as better value. Unfortunately, 9 times out of 10, and I know that we suffer from it here in India, that means cutting costs rather than trying to find ways of getting more quality on the table. And in that sense, the industry faces ever decreasing margins, and in areas where there's less profitability, people are less willing to rethink construction methods, and everything gets pushed back to a very base model where, in the end, work quality suffers, and perhaps the time of delivery of projects also suffers. So that's one of the challenges, is margins being pushed down in the industry. A second one would be it's an increasingly international industry. In your work environment in the future, as you move forward as construction PMs, if that's the direction you go in, you will either work internationally yourself, or you will be competing with international players. In which case, the whole issue of language, of different standards, of different culture comes into play. And you'll find in certain cultures, the Middle East for example, you might have 30 nationalities on a construction site, and trying to get everyone to deliver the same thing to the same standard can be quite a challenge. In that international environment, you're buying, sourcing materials internationally, so you have the problem of long supply chains, of not necessarily knowing what you're buying, and so there's another issue there. But lastly, perhaps in the context of India, the upskilling of the workforce in order to deliver the higher quality that would enable you to get higher margins for the business. That's a key thing, and really that's a key focus, and that's the very existence of the SBE as well.
So I think we'll like to probably close this question answer session. I'd just like to add on the CPM, being a CPM guy, I can't stop from saying a few words. I think technology adoption of technology, adoption of BIM, adoption of lean principles is an opportunity as well as a challenge for construction management professionals. So thank you very much for asking wonderful questions. If you have more, we could probably email and get answers. But what I'd like to do is close this session and we start our IGBC student chapter launch program now, and I'll hand over the charge to Professor Anupam Jain, who is going to take care of this program. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sami. It's really good to see everybody here early in the morning. Happy. The IGBC student chapter is finally getting launched. I know many of you have had queries about IGBC, degree building concept. Many of you have studied with me, so you got attendance. Yeah, I'll mark you for that. But this is really an honorable day for us, because we've been able to get Dr. P.C. Jain, who is the National Chairman of the Indian Green Building Council, with us. And so I know time is of essence, and we have to get started. So I would like to invite Professor Sani back. He, as you all know, is the Associate Dean, Director and Professor at the School of Construction at RICS, and needless to say, the pioneer. So I'll hand over the stage to him now.
I promise this is the last time I'll speak in this program. It'll only take 2.5 minutes, and you can count that. There are 3 things I'd like to say. First is the impact that Dr. Jain has had on me personally. I remember the day when I was an MBEM student at SPA. He told us a story about Minneapolis and Minnesota. I don't remember much of the technical content, but I remember your inspirational story on your work in the US. So thank you for impacting so many student lives. I really appreciate that, and we learned a lot from you. Thank you. The second point I'd like to make is that today we are also launching the student body of RICS SBE. We are now 429 students strong and growing. So a student body by the name of SLING, Student Learning and Innovation Networking Group. I have a bit of a notorious name within the faculty, but I'm good at coming up with acronyms. So I'll take the credit of this acronym, SLING, and I hope it carries forward the school and its spirit for a long time. So we'd like to first acknowledge the working group members of SLING who have worked for past 1 month to put together a structure so that we can launch SLING today. So may I request the working group members to please stand up, the original working group members who helped us put this team together. We'd just like to give a round of applause. Thank you. So as an activity of SLING, on a platter, we are providing to the SLING core team the IGBC student chapter, which Dr. Jain has so kindly agreed to support and launch today. Along with him, we also have Mr. Arun Bhatia, who is the Delhi chairperson of IGBC Delhi chapter, and Ms. Sheetal Rakeja, who is also the co-chair of the student chapter. You'll hear more from them and more about them through Anupam. Those are the 3 things I promised I'll say. So thank you very much. I'm thankful to my faculty colleagues, staff who has helped put this together, and all the students. I know you're forcing yourself to be here because you have the exam pressure and the placement pressure on you, but thank you very much for being here.